Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Thursday morning call where we dive into some of the practical applications of whatever key code that we're working on. And we open it up to hear from you and do some group coaching where we can go deep. We can talk about different concepts. We can hear other people's thoughts. And so it's a great, lovely experience. It's my favorite day of the week to connect with all of you simultaneously on the Thursday call. So today we are working on self-love. So we've been working on self-love and we've really gone into like the abandonment wound, and we've, taken a deep dive into shame and just seeing like what would make us feel more worthy, right? And so, I was sitting with this and contemplating on like, what do we do about like the inadequacy that we feel? Where does it come from? Why does it keep coming up? And what do we do about it? Right. And something, I think it was last week that I talked about raising the standards and lowering the expectations and the importance of that. And this week, I really want to highlight the expectations part. So let's say that I'm lazy. Let's say that I'm lazy. Let's say that I love to eat junk food and I want to change, right? If I go, hey, today's the day that I'm going to change my life. If I'm going to change my life, I'm not going to be a lazy person anymore. I'm not going to be I'm not going to eat junk food anymore. I'm a healthy person that is active and going for it. When I say that, what I do is I immediately set an expectation for myself, so that anything that I do during that day that isn't the antithesis of laziness and junk food, I automatically become disappointed in myself, see myself as defective, continue to feel inadequate, and dig myself deeper and deeper into that hole of inadequacy that I can never escape, that spiral down. And so what I said last week was drop all the expectations. So what does this look like in this scenario? Well, it looks like you accept the fact, all right, I might be lazy. I might really like junk food, and that's fine. I'm not trying to change my life today. I just want to do one thing different today. Today, I'm just going to wake up early today. I'm just choosing one thing different. So what's happening here, instead of trying to change my whole life and my whole identity, I'm detaching from that and I'm just doing one thing different. I'm just doing one thing different. Like, all right. So last night I was driving home and I was really hungry because I'm like doing this cleanse and everything, and I didn't know what I was gonna eat. And I was like, I'm gonna eat a Wawa hoagie, right? I was thinking like I'm gonna stop at Wawa and just get something and screw it, right? And I accepted like that's part of me, I like to eat junk food. That's not a bad impulse. And then I was like, you know what? I can eat a Wawa hoagie anytime, right? I can eat a Wawa hoagie anytime. So I made a different decision and I had a healthy meal. I went home and I made something and I waited. And it wasn't me changing myself, right? I'm not changing. I wasn't like, oh, I'm so bad. I want a Wawa hoagie, blah, blah, blah. Because if I dove into that, I'd probably just walk in shameful into Wawa and eat that Wawa hoagie and feel bad and good at the same time, right? And so what do we do to escape this? Well, one, we got to drop the expectation that we are anything other than what we are, that we're going to change our whole life today, that we're going to be better today, we're going to change everything. Just drop that idea, because you're driving yourself crazy and it's doing more harm than it is doing good, because you're trying to do this huge thing and move this huge boulder. And of course you can't move this huge boulder. It's a ginormous boulder. And you're just pushing on it and you're like, well, I guess I'm not strong enough. I'll never be able to change. But if you're like, you know what, I there's no way that I can move this boulder. Let me just like get a hammer and start hitting it. I can hit it with a hammer today, and oh, look, it crumbled a little bit. Great. I didn't expect anything big to happen. So any little change is great. But eventually, if you're hitting a boulder with a hammer every day, it's going to crumble. It's going to turn into gravel, and you can move that gravel and the boulder will eventually move. And so it's lowering these expectations of what's going to happen. And so a key aspect that I found in this is like, man, I am addicted to punishing myself, right? I'm addicted to punishing myself. Like the Wawa hoagie thing. You know what would happen in the past? I would have gotten the Wawa hoagie and I would eat it. It was so good. I'm like, this is so bad. This is so bad. You know what I mean? I was like, I'm just so bad. Like I can't even like maintain a cleanse with accountability. I can't do this. Like I'm just like a failure. I'm just gonna eat this Wawa hoagie and I punish myself. Right? And it's the same thing. Like if you're smoking a cigarette and you're like, oh man, this is so bad. This is gonna kill me. My girlfriend's gonna be so mad at me. My friends are gonna lose respect for me. I lose respect for me. I'm smoking the cigarette, right? You keep doing it. You don't stop. Why? Because you're addicted to punishing yourself. Because we're trapped in our amygdala, our pain or pleasure center, and we're getting both at the same time. We're getting the pain and pleasure at the same time. And our amygdala is like, so we get trapped in that survival brain. So what do we do to get out of survival brain? It's simple. Awareness. So instead of saying, oh, it's so bad that I'm smoking this cigarette. Oh, this is horrible. Oh man, this Wawa hoagie is so good, but it's going to feel so shitty later. I say to myself, I'm smoking a cigarette. I'm smoking a cigarette. That just is what it is. And you know what usually happens if you're doing that? I'm eating a Wawa hoagie. I'm eating a Wawa hoagie. I go, I don't want this. Because I've jumped my consciousness from my amygdala into my prefrontal cortex where I can make better executive decisions. And the problem that is happening today is we're all on our phones getting our dopamine receptors firing off, and we're just living in pain and pleasure, which is survival. And from pain and pleasure, you can't make any decisions. You just can't. You are going to be completely controlled by the chemical reactions in your brain. You have no willpower, no discipline, no ability to execute what you want to happen in your life at all. And so we need to reconnect our amygdala to our prefrontal cortex. And things like phones disconnect our prefrontal cortex and our amygdala. And so it's like two different people. Right? And we're like, do I have two different personalities? No, your decision-making stuff, this is disconnected, from there, from your amygdala. And so you need to reconnect it. And all it is just practice being aware of what's happening from a neutral place. Because as soon as you go good, or as soon as you go bad, bada bing, bada boom, you're back to pain and pleasure. The two P's. We're transcending pain and pleasure. We're just letting things be what they are and making conscious decisions from a conscious place. And the only tool you need is to say what you're doing in any given moment, right? Even the good things, right? You just practice doing it. So like yesterday, I was doing an ice bath in the river. And I'm like, I'm doing an ice bath in the river. I'm doing an ice bath in the river. And I'm like, I want to keep doing this. I am doing an ice bath in the river. And I'm like, yes, I'm going to keep doing this. And I felt amazing and gratitude flooded in my body. And I like fired and wired the neural circuitry that, wow, I love doing this. And so I'm going to keep doing it. And it became easier. Because we know what we want if we can tap into this part of our brain. You know everything. You know all the right decisions. You can tap into your own presence and they can give you the guidance. But if you're trapped into the lower consciousness of survival, you will forever be trapped in that. And so why do we do that? Why do we do these things? Why do we smoke the cigarettes and drink the booze and eat the junk food and scroll on our phones for hours and do all these things that we consciously know are not good for us, right? That cause us to have more shame. What is shame? Shame is anger. Shame is anger. If you find a really shameful person, you better watch out, because if they pop, if that shame eventually gets pushed too far, they will explode in anger, because shame is just condensed anger. It's just densified anger that you push down in your cells because it's bad and you know that it's not right. And you just keep pushing down the anger. You're like, I shouldn't be angry about this. So I'm just going to make that anger into shame. And I'm going to keep that. And I'm going to hold on to that. And I'm going to let that weigh me down in every aspect of my life. So let me just push that anger down. Right? And why are we angry? Why are we angry in the first place? Because we are in rebellion against being domesticated. So let me give you an example of this. You know, society, the church, your mom, whatever, your friends, they are telling you what it means to be good, what it means to be productive, what it means to be healthy. And you're a healthy, good boy, and you need to listen to me and do what I say so that you can be good, right? And a part of us goes, I don't want to be controlled. I don't want to be domesticated. So what do we do unconsciously? We disconnect from that and we do something bad so that we can be separate, which basically says, you can't control me. So I'm a teenager. My mom's like, you need to be good. You need to be a good boy. You need to be healthy. You need to be all these things. What am I going to do? I'm going to go drink beer and smoke cigarettes and be like, so what, mom? You can't control me. I'm going to do what I want to do. But I'm not aware of that. You know, I'm not aware of that inner rebellion going on, that need to disconnect, to feel a sense of individualism and a sense of freedom. I'm not aware of that. And the thing is that the unconscious desire to be free, to be disconnected from these other people, is actually making me more controlled. The easiest person to control is the person most afraid of being controlled. The person that is easiest to manipulate is the person most afraid of being manipulated. And so this is what happens. And we do this thing and then we feel bad about it. Now we've taken the control over ourselves from an external like hierarchy, whether it's our parents, it's the government, it's society, it's the news. And we've just given that power to something that we think that we're in control of, but really we're not. We're not. And so the ultimate thing is to come back to that personal sovereignty, to surrender it to your I am presence, to let go of being controlled by any external forces, whether it is, you know, phones and alcohol and cigarettes and junk food and destructive, you know, codependent relationships where we are addicted to the drama of the pain and pleasure of it, or it's, you know, some sort of religious figure, church guru person telling us that what we're not doing is right, that we're not good enough, and all this nonsense. Finito, done. Let it go. It's just be aware of what you're doing and decide if I want to do this or not. That's all that matters. And if you want to do it, do it. If you don't want to do it, don't do it. Nothing is 100% bad. Nothing is 100% good. You can't get it right. Stop trying to get it right. Stop trying to be a god. Stop trying to be perfect. It's toxic. Perfection is a toxic idea. It's never going to happen. You're never going to be perfect because guess what? You already are. And you just don't see it. So stop trying to be a better person and just realize how good of a person you already are and amplify that. You're not inadequate. You're not defective. There's nothing wrong with you. Just take a deep breath and regain your power, regain your ability to choose something. Stop being controlled by pain or pleasure. Just become aware. It's so easy. If you can do this, you can change. You don't even need to change your life. You can just do what you want. I am having a conversation on Zoom right now. I am having a conversation on Zoom right now. I'm giving a presentation on Zoom right now. I feel great. You know what I mean? I don't Like it doesn't need to be good. It doesn't mean like, oh, I'm giving a phenomenal presentation on Zoom right now where, oh man, this presentation isn't what I want it to be. Boom, back in pain or pleasure. Then I can't control it. Then it's out of my control. I'm back in survival. I'm back in lower consciousness. Become aware. I'm here. I'm doing this. Maybe I'm slouching right now. I'm slouching right now. Oh, I want to sit up straight. I'm sitting up straight. I'm sitting up straight. I feel great. Allie,